Welcome to Borno Restoration. Infrastructure and human development has been all-time high since Professor Babagana Zulum assumed office as the executive governor. Tell us about how his 10-part development agenda contributed to the state's success story when it comes to socio-economic advancement.
I think one of the benefits of Professor Babagana Umaro Zulum, or something, the unique qualities of him that the people of Borno have benefited from, in my opinion, are about 3 to 4 things. The first one is that he's an engineer. You know, engineers by their nature are driven by all kinds of developments, particularly infrastructure. Even though he's not a civil engineer, he's an irrigation engineer, but like some people will tell you, an engineer is always an engineer. And even in the water sector where he specialized, there are lots of infrastructural things there. And then his background. Zulum was a rector in Ramat Polytechnic, and while he was a rector under the Shetima administration, he brought about a lot of transformation at the Ramat Polytechnic. So in other words, he had the experience of doing some public sector infrastructural works while he was there. And then as Commissioner for Reconstruction, Rehabilitation and Resettlement under the Shetima administration, 30,000 houses were built during the Shetima administration, and it was Zulum that coordinated, the whole of that. So he came with all of that background. And then being a commissioner of RRR, one of the things about RRR is that it's interwoven. It's just like information. The Ministry of Information, for instance, is involved with virtually all the activities of all ministries or office of the SSG. So the Ministry of RRR is involved in all the sectors. So Zulum had the advantage of having a fair knowledge of what obtains in all the ministries. And then ultimately, which is far more important than everything, is the man's commitment. Professor Zulum is someone that is extremely committed. To be honest with you, when he started working as a governor, I started working with him. Not that I didn't trust him, but normally as a journalist, journalists, we have critical mindsets. We are always suspicious. We are like academics. We see things from different sides. So I saw him, I said, well, maybe he's just a politician like every other politician. Maybe he's just trying to impress. But over time, I got to know that this is who Zulum is. The man is not pretending. That is him. You cannot have 30 minutes conversation with Zulum without him talking about one project or the other. So it tells you that the man is a progressive in nature. He is developmental in nature. He's someone who wants to make impact. He goes to bed thinking about Borno. He wakes up thinking about Borno. He eats, he drinks, thinking about Borno. And all of this drives his passion for development. And then, talking about the 10-pack agenda, you know that from day one, while he was campaigning, he had his blueprint or a projection of what he wanted to achieve. And don't forget that soon after he became governor, 2 days after he was sworn in, he started a tour of 27 local government areas. I think he started with Goza, if I'm right. He went to Goza on 31st of May. Then from there, he came back to Bama and Konduga, and then continued. He went around 27 local government areas, even though he had some knowledge of most of the things while he was commissioner for RRR. But of course, there were areas he couldn't have known because maybe they didn't have to do with his office, at that time. So while he became governor, he went around on a needs assessment. So he armed himself with knowledge and understanding of the peculiarities of each of the 27 local governments in terms of their needs. And then he also had consultations with key stakeholders, like members of state assemblies representing each local government, the members of House of Reps and senators representing constituencies, the commissioners, former office holders, key stakeholders. So he was armed with all of that. And then that's why he keeps moving. And one thing he keeps saying, the governor would always tell you that what makes the private sector succeed over the public sector is the absence of supervision at the public sector level. You could find a teacher, for instance, who is teaching in the public school, maybe he earns 30,000 or 40 or 50,000 or even more than that. And you discover that that teacher doesn't go to class to teach. But you discover that the same teacher might be doing a lesson for someone, maybe in a private home, where he's being given 10,000 naira as salary. But that teacher never misses the lesson. The reason is because if he doesn't come, the mother of the child or the father would call him. So what Zulum ensures is strict supervision. That's why you see him appearing at project site 1 a.m. He goes to hospitals at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. He appears in schools 6 a.m. That is the kind of supervision, and it works a lot. It energizes workers, it keeps everybody on his toes, and that's why you're seeing the results.
Okay, now Borno State is experiencing relative peace since it has in office, and the state government has continued to show enormous support to the military. Now, tell us what non-kinetic approach the state is adopting to sustain the gains recorded so far.
Governor Zulum, from day one, as part of the 10-pack agenda, did say that he was going to combine kinetic and non-kinetic responses. And then the kinetic responses, which, within the first week he became governor, he increased the salary or the allowances of civilian GTFs. He ordered the recruitment of thousands of hunters. He got them a lot of vehicles, and deployed them. And then, the army itself has regularly acknowledged that the governor gives overwhelming support to the military, especially through, gathering of information that often leads to actionable intelligence in addition to logistic support. Now, the non-kinetic is good leadership. One of the things that you achieve as a leader is being able to inspire people. And you can only inspire people when people believe in you, when they trust you. So the governor has earned that confidence. And then, of course, you know that the governor is always is the chief humanitarian officer of Borno State. Nobody can count the number of times Zulum has visited communities for humanitarian intervention. Only yesterday, as you know, we're in Malari, where he went to flag off a resettlement and humanitarian support to a number of people. Part of the advantages of doing that is that you make people to believe in the system, you discourage them from even contemplating joining the insurgents. Because frustration and hopelessness can actually lead someone to become a criminal. Where, for instance, the governor, ignores IDPs who are homeless, who are displaced, they don't have anything to do, and somebody comes to position that, look, you could join us as a spy, be giving Boko Haram or ISWAP some information, they'll be giving you X amount of money per month. You could have an economic-driven membership of the insurgents. You know that we have had instances where some women were being paid as little as 10,000 to ferry rifles. We have had a situation where some young men were given 5,000 naira to set schools ablaze. So what the governor is doing is deploying serious economic responses in terms of supporting victims of terror, in terms of jobs creation, in terms of empowerment. That's why you see anytime you say that Zulum has taken 50 million, 100 million to divide. All of these incentives is to give people a reason to believe in the system, is to empower them, no matter how level, in such a way that it's impossible for insurgents to attract them with small amount of money. Because that 5, 10, 20,000, 50,000 that he gives to people, some people may see it as nothing. But let's also remember that some people were attracted with as little as 5, 10,000 naira to work for insurgents. So this is part of the non-kinetic approach. And of course, you know that the governor has been advocating for insurgents to surrender their arms. So after Shekhar was killed, the governor thought that we should seize an opportunity. He increased his advocacy to the insurgents.